Hey guys, welcome to my channel again. Today I'll be sharing you a bit more about the Git. So I'll be telling you how Git works and how you can use it in day-to-day life. And this is one of the tools that me being a DevOps engineer or say a software engineer, I use it every day while I'm working in my office or for my personal projects as well. So without wasting any time, I will just straight away head to the whole process itself. What is Git? Git is nothing but source control management tool that is widely used by almost, let's say, 100% of the companies these days, unless that company doesn't involve with the source code. On the internet these days, there are lots of tools who provides your Git services, which includes GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, etc. And after the acquisition of GitHub from Microsoft back in I don't know which year, but it has made developers' life a bit easier, which allows us to create now multiple repositories and start testing there. And for the paid one, I think there is something called GitHub Enterprise, GitHub Server, blah blah blah, which is not required for now. Without wasting much time with the process itself. So in this tutorial, what I will be doing is I'll be telling you how you create your repository in GitHub. And this is very similar to all of the other free Git providers like Bitbucket or GitLab. I prefer GitHub because that's my day-to-day thing that I do every day. So, and in this tutorial, or let's say in this video, I'll be just focusing on maintaining your own repo, like multiple branches, how you could do it. Or I'll also cover one merging the branch and how it works. And maybe if you guys want to see more videos on this, I will also tell you how you can collaborate with other developers and work on those repositories. And also, if you want to contribute to a few of the public repositories that's found in GitHub, that's one of the good way to learn. So let's straight away head to our GitHub page. As you can see, this is my demonstration tool, so I don't have any repositories here. So what I'll do is create a repository. Let's give a name as YouTube Dude. Okay, so I will make it private for now. So this is a video tut for Git. And readme file is something that you won't be using now, but this is one of the mandatory thing that you will need when you are working in enterprise or large companies. Git ignore is nothing but a set of extensions which is ignored while you are committing that repository. I will show you in real time itself. And license, you will know it later, but for now you can either put none because it's a private repository. And maybe once you want to make it public, you will need to understand how these things work. So what I will do is I'll be creating a repository. And I named it as YouTube Tut. And there are a bunch of ways that you can now get this repository in your local branch. A bit used to with the process. What I like to do is I always change this to master then main. It doesn't make any difference, but what it gives me is peace of mind, because that's how a lot of the companies these days are using it. So, and once you have a repository which is private, so to access or to clone this repository, you will need either username and password, or you need to have SSH keys that's been set up in the account itself. So if you go to once you have this account, like if you go to settings and if you go to SSH here, I already have my keys that's been set up here, so I won't have any issues. So this is nothing but a public key that you get when you hit command SSH-keygen. So I'll just paste it here, and this is very similar, typical method that we use for SSH while logging into Linux machines. So The authentication part is already set up in my account. So I'm in my repository that I just created. What I normally do now is I will just clone it. I just copied it. Let me open a terminal. I will make it as big as I can see it clearly. So what I do is git clone. There you go. So what it'll do, it will clone the repository that we created in GitHub. So if you go to, let's say now if you do ll, you will see you have YouTube. Now if you go here, git branch, let's say git status, your branch is up to date with the remote origin master, nothing to commit, working pretty clean. Which what it really means is it just cloned everything. That means you haven't made any changes to this repository, or there is no files that's been added. And so we are in master branch. Now what I will do is, first thing, let's say you want to create a file. So rather than I'm expecting you guys are not that experienced, that's why I won't be using much of the console. Once you're used to it, you'll be using console. So what I will do is I will open this repository in my VS Code. So you got everything here. It does nothing but just a README file. Now what I'll do is, first thing, I will create a file. Let's name it my first file. Let's say it's a YAML file. This is my first file content. Yeah, I will save it. So it's been saved. Now if you do ll here, you will see the newly created file. If you do cat, you will see the content inside it. So if you do git status, what you will see here is it got untracked files. That means there's a change in the repository, but it's not been tracked. That means whenever you push, it won't be pushed to the remote repository, right? And also one more thing, the way these days this Git displays a color, you can understand the status of it. What I'm trying to say here is, I will show you that in few minutes. So let's say you got a file that's been created. Now I'll do git status. That's what I showed you. The git log, you will just see initial commit that was done when we are doing it. Now I want to make this file a part of my repository. What I do now is git add. This is the file name. Now if you hit git status, you see initially it was all red, see here, but now it's all green. That means the file has been added. And another difference that you see is initially it was untracked and now it says changes to be committed. What it really means is now we have added that file as a part of the repository. Now another thing that we'll need to do now is let's say git commit -m. Let's say created my first file. Okay, one more thing that I like to tell is, since this is a first time that I'm working with this repository, so you can always do a config global name and let's say Sanjeev and config global user.email is, I would say, test@this.com. So what we are doing here is we are just setting up a username and an email address so that whenever we make the changes, these are being tracked as done by this user. Okay, there's no rocket science here, and if you're working in a corporate, these things are all set up because your account is synced with your AD. You don't need to worry about these. So git status, now the file is gone. What it really means is now I have added the file and also I've committed the file. So there is nothing to be done in local repository. Now what we need to do now is, okay, before we push this to the remote repository, what you should always do is, let's assume somebody has made some changes in this master branch somewhere else in the actual repository. So what we should always do is, before you push it, you should always do git pull, so that all the changes that are technically done by someone else, you will be able to see it here. So ignore this error message. So it says already up to date. That means it's all good. In this example, let's say it's showing already up to date because it's just myself who is working in this. Let's assume you got multiple engineers or multiple people working on the same repository. Let's say master branch would be the prod branch. That's when, let's say, somebody has pushed the changes, and now before you push that change, you need to make sure that change is first implemented in your local repository. Then it will add your changes to the newly created repository, or let's say newly updated repository. Then you do the commit and these things, then only you push. Now let's show you an example how we should do it. So first thing that we did is git status. So git add is something that I did, then git commit. Now once we are all done with those, what do we git push? Okay, this is the command. So I will explain what does this really mean. So git is very standard, push is very standard, origin is very standard. This is where it says it's a branch. So let's assume this is master branch, and let's assume you're working on something else. In that scenario, you can't do git push origin master. In that scenario, you need to give the branch that you are in right now. I will show you that in a few minutes. So let's do a push. Now it's now pushing to this repository, and it will have all the commit IDs, this and that. Now if you do git status, it will have nothing. It's clean as it was earlier. Now if you go to GitHub, right, and let's say if you do it here, now you will see that same file that we created, right? This is nothing but the first file. So how it worked? So you can always track these things, you know. So once you're in GitHub, you can always go to the history here, and you'll have all the commits, which means you can track each and every changes that's been tracked. That's why it's called source control management, which helps you to roll back in future. Let's say if you have a release, let's say with version 0.2, and you had a stable version, let's say 0.1, that's when it's so easy to roll back into the actual working version. So this will save a lot of time, and this will also help you to understand the whole process. Though in real world, in production these days, it's fully automated, which means there are lots of CI/CD pipelines that's been run where there is a lot of validation. Test runs are being built before even it goes to production. But the goal here, what I'm trying to tell you is, you can track each and every changes. That being said, this is way of adding file to existing branch. Now let's come to another step, like step 2. What do we do in step 2 is, let's assume your manager won't allow you to work in master branch. What they will just allow is they won't allow you to directly merge to master, but you can do a pull request. That means unless and until manager approves your request, you won't be able to merge to the master branch. So in that scenario, what we should do is we should create a branch, and it's based on master. So let's assume git branch, you are in master branch, you're in master branch. Now if you do git checkout, remember this -b will create another branch based on master -b. So now like I've said, the difference between -b and without b is, let's say if you do, let's say this is let's assume we got a branch name feature like testing git, right? If you see it will say error, path spec, blah blah blah, didn't match any files, don't do it. What it's saying is it's not able to change to this branch because that branch doesn't exist at all. So what I'm trying to tell you is, let's say if there's no branch, you want to create a brand new branch, you should take out -b, give a branch name that you need. Let's say testing git online. Okay, now if you do branch, you see here we got 2 branches. One is master, one is feature testing tool online. So what it's saying here is we are now and also this is a config that I have where I can see the branch that I'm working on here. So I'm working on a branch called feature testing online, which is based on master branch, like I've said earlier. So let's do a very similar task here. Let's open in GFS. What I'll do, let me create a Python file. Let's say first script.py. Just write a few things here. Let's say this is my first script. If let's say just give a function, let's print first task. I mean, I'll be very basic here. So if you do open a terminal here, let's say if I do python -v, okay, I'm in 2.7, so let's say python 3 python 3, okay, I got 3.10, that's nice. So let's say python, okay, do ll python 3 first script, voila, okay, this thing works. Now let's assume this is a real code that you are pushing to this branch. Let me go to here, very straightforward, git status. You see red means okay, you have created a file but you haven't tracked it down. So the thing you need to do now is like I've said multiple times, hit add first script. Okay, git status. I will show you something else. Let's assume you got multiple files here. Let's say okay, multiple copies. Now if you go here, you'll see The first thing is already been added because I added it manually. This is the command that I did. Now imagine you just got four files. That's fine. You can do it one by one, like something like git add first, copy, py, git status. That's totally fine. But there is a way that you're gonna work on this. It's called git add a, which means all files. If you do this, if you do git status now, it just adds everything that you have changed on. So you're getting my point, right? So like I've said, git add. Now you just need to do git commit. Let's say this is a Python script created working Python script. Okay, everything is updated now. Git status. You'll see nothing here. That means we are ready to push. So let's say git push version master. It won't work. Why? Because we are trying to push different branches. So like I said earlier, rather than master, what you should do is future testing online branch. Hit enter. Now it will push everything to this branch. Initially we did it in master branch, now we are doing in this branch, right? So let's go to GitHub again. Let me refresh the page. You see, if you go to branches now, you will see two branches. One is being default branch, that's master, and there is being a branch that we just created. This is a very common way to play things around. So technically in real scenario, you don't work in master. That's how it is. Lots of videos, they will show they are working in master directly, but that's not the right way to do it. You should always work in a branch. So now let me go to the branch that I'm working on, and as you can see, you'll see all the files here. Let's go to my first script that I created. Okay, that's fine. Everything is fine. This is the initial release. Let's say this is a bunch. Let's assume this is a bunch of command that you want to execute. That's pretty fine. But now you're working in a team, right? So what happens now is, okay, you got a ticket or you got a request number from someone else within the team or someone else. So they tell you, okay, your script is very good, but we need something else in the script as well. So in that scenario, it's very straightforward. Let's say in this function, you got a function. Now we'll call it, let's say, def new AI based function, right? I am AI. So if you do the same thing, Python script, you will see first task. And if you call this thing from here, okay, Python, okay, let's not even do this. Let's do this. I'll just make life easier for now. We're going to Pythons. Oh, sorry. We are sitting in different branch. Okay, we will show this, what I mean to say. Let me close all the thing here first. So save. Okay. Let me go to my first branch. Let me create another branch, like a new AI function. Print. This is best function. Okay, let's assume this is the update that you're going to send. You can just always call the function from main. We don't need two mains. So same thing. Okay. This is the new updated code. Now you're working in this branch, right? Technically, if you go to here, if you go to master branch, you see it got nothing. I don't know what's wrong here. Okay, that's good now. So in master branch, there's nothing, just HTML file. If you go to that branch, you got everything. And if you go to the content, you will see there is no updated file. Just remember this page. Now what you're gonna do is, you have added the changes. You've added the changes to the functions here. So what you're gonna do now is, like any task earlier, get status. Since I made few changes to all the files, that's why you're seeing there red. Git add -a or all, same thing. Status, it would go green. Git commit, and you can give it like added updated script with AI. Okay, files change, blah blah blah, everything is good. Now what do you do? Git push origin. I'm just pushing it to the branch. Okay, now if you go to the web, okay, just to make it concept clear, what I'll do is I'll create one more page, which is updated one. See here, it got the new function. The previous one, it had nothing. So this is where you push files there. And in master branch, I don't know why we are getting this error, but let's say if you go here, and if you go to master branch, you'll see nothing here, but you got everything that's required in this branch. Hopefully we're getting all the concept clear here. And if you want to see the changes here, like I've said, you can always go to this branch and let's say just go to the script, and if you click on history, you'll see all the changes here. Let's say first we just added that file, that script, and in the one which we added recently, it says okay, we have added a new file here. So this is how you can even track it from here, but you can also track it from here as well. It's called diff, but here you won't see any changes because we have already pushed to the remote repository. That's why you won't see any differences. I will show you one more example on this. Okay, now if you see a flag here, it's called you're requesting to merge to master. So you can always do pull request. This is how it's done. Create a pull request. That's what I was talking about, pull request. Then you do a merge, confirm merge. Now if you go to master, you will see all the files. That's fine. Now you go to the same branch here. Now let's say somehow you found a code bug. Now what you need to do, you need to remove that file. What do? You remove the function. Right, I save the file. I go to git status. Okay, what? There is a change. Git diff. You see here, I have removed that function. That's how it's showing here. And this is the same thing that you will see in the web, the difference part. Once you are used to this thing, it's very straightforward. You can quickly understand how these things work. And one more thing I would like to tell, I've created a basic Python script that I'll be sharing you at the end of the video, where you don't need to do all these things. So maybe I'll make a video on that one as well, and before I share that script to you guys. But I just want you guys to understand the basics out of it. So what did we do? I removed the function because there was a bug. So what I need to do, like I've said earlier, git add all, git status. So here it's all green. Git commit gem. Okay, remove a bug with AI. So we change that file. Git push origin feature testing and process. We pushed it. Now if you go to the web, I'm in the required branch. Let's go to first script. See here, now there is nothing. This function, we just removed it. If you go to history itself, you'll clearly see, okay, we removed the same file. This is the same diff that I showed you earlier. That should be there. Or maybe we missed that one, but I think I've showed you earlier. So this is the same thing that I was talking about. So we have pushed that to this branch. Now, like I've said, like I've done earlier, you can go to the branch. You will see our merge request here. So do a pull request, new pull request. So you want to do it from here. What it does, we are just pushing the removing of that function to the master branch, so that our production environment will get the will remove the bug like a script with the bug. So you are getting my point, I guess. So that's the basic principle that we need to do. So let's say you do a pull request, just add whatever you need to add. It will do the validation. You do a merge request. Now if you go to master branch, you go to script. Now you see we got the exact and expected script that we need. So this is how we do work in real world. And if you go to, let's say, this page, let's assume you got like 200 files. Technically in production or real scenario, like there will be a limit of files that you are allowed to change, because whenever you do a pull request, there is something called validation that needs to go through, and also there will be reviewers that they need to review your code before they merge. So there are a few policies that the company sets up. Let's say max is like 2 files or max is like 3 files, unless it's an emergency change or it's an emergency task that they need to avoid those policies. So this is how you should work, and this is very straightforward. And I think once you have understanding of these, now you can just set up your own repositories and start storing your codes that you write in the remote repository than your local machine. The benefits of having those are, like, you won't lose your code. That's the first thing. Even if you lose your laptop, or even if you need to format your laptop, that's one thing. Another thing is, if you go to the web, there are lots of things that you could do. It's in the master branch itself. Release, you can create a release. I will show you one example. Let's say let's go to our GitHub. Let's do something like PyV Cloud, or let's just Python. Okay, and you can search anything here. Let's say Python API. Okay, so if you just go to the public repository, as you can see, there are multiple branches, main, blah blah blah. These are all branches that I was talking about. And if you go to the branches, these are the multiple branches. That's which are worked around. If you see here, there are lots of pull requests that's been requested, and someone needs to review it before it gets merged. That's a very advanced level scripting, but I'm just trying to show you what we were doing here. So this is a real production code that's been created by Google APIs from actual Google, the original Google. And if you see here, there are multiple branches. And if you see git ignore, this is what I was talking about. So it will have all the extensions that we ignore. And if you see a few more things like readme file, that's what I was talking about. This is all written in markdown format. You can always Google it if you got any questions on those. And these language part, it will auto pick it up. Environments, you can always set it up. Contributor is number of people that they have worked in this repository. Like I was discussing earlier, when you work by yourself, you don't need multiple branches, but when you have, imagine 167 users working on the same repository, then you will need multiple branches so that there is no branch conflict. And if you see used by, like this code has been used by, let's say, downloaded like more than 128,000 times. And another thing is release. It's nothing but the final release version that's been provided for the user to download. And if you see in our code itself, you can always create a tag, let's say 0.1, give something, and just let's say create a new release. This is something that we can show you in later version, but this is how it's done. So yeah, that's all for now from me, I guess. So I hope like after going through the video, you guys will be understanding how this thing actually works, and hopefully it will help you guys to understand the basics of Git. And like I've said before, I've got a script which will automate most of these process. I'll share that in the next video. So just I'll keep you guys posted on that part. So for now, that's all for me. That's all from my side. Hopefully you like understood the theory here, and you'll be using this in your day-to-day life as well. That's all for now. Thanks, guys.